Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload, as you can tell by the title of this video, is about a unique pattern that's setting up. It's not really rare, it's just a little bit interesting. We often see this in the springtime. The pattern that I will be discussing in today's video. I'll also briefly go over the little snow system that's going on across the Midwest, bringing some snow into Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, and into Illinois, Kansas. There could be some pretty hefty snowfall amounts, despite it being mid-April. Many locations across those areas they're gonna see over a foot of snow have already gotten their blooms. The plants are growing, but that hasn't stopped Old Man Winter from coming in and producing several more inches of snow. So if you like weather-related content, if you like anything about the weather, I do all sorts of weather speculation, weather forecasts, long-range weather forecasts, and it's just a fun weather channel, so consider subscribing. And if you are a returning viewer, it's always awesome when you guys could like the video. So let's look at this. Right now we're looking at the GFS Global Forecasting System, and this is brought to you by Tropical Tidbits. It's a very good website. I use it often and I use it every day. Matter of fact, if you're a weather enthusiast, I guarantee you know what this website is. It's an absolutely phenomenal website. So easy to use, very just easy graphics. You don't get lost like in some websites, some weather models. This one is really easy. So notice we have the system. It's not really strong at all, but it's definitely packing a punch across Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas and Nebraska. There's some locations across Wyoming and Colorado that have gotten up to 30 inches of snow from this event. So it just goes to show you that it may not be a full-fledged, severe weather maker, giant windstorm, just a classic spring snowstorm, but it's a smaller event, more like a Clipper type, but it's easily, it's powerful and it's packing a punch. You can see it moves across the Illinois area into Chicago, passes through Detroit, and moves on into the Northeast. A little bit of snow across the Northeast is expected as well. So let's quickly look at the snowfall amounts, the total snowfall accumulations, and see what's forecasted. Again, this is just one model. This is not the end-all be-all. But you can see that they're showing a 7, 8, 9 inches easily, and this has been a pretty good trend that over half a foot of snow easily, up to a foot, will fall across the central into northern Illinois area, southern Iowa, and into Nebraska. Right now, as I'm recording this video, it's snowing across Iowa, starting to rain across Illinois before it transitions into snow. And then if we move on into the Northeast, let's say, and we're to look at the snowfall amounts, you can see that some amounts are expected as well, are up to 7 inches, maybe localized. The GFS has a little bit smaller amounts across the Northeast. However, if you were to look at, say, the NAM 12KM, which is a North American model, you can see it shows it across similar locations, just a little bit more widespread amounts over that 6-foot benchmark. You can see Boston maybe getting it on some of this, Worcester, Western Massachusetts. So definitely this will be more of a travel or a headache, but for maybe just like a little nuisance for the Northeast. But while it could be more of a potential hazard, you can see a damaging storm, especially since many trees could have already their buds, maybe even their leaves, as far south as this is. So 13, 14 inches, which I'm not like leaving that out of the question that there will be some double-digit snowfall amounts. I think there will be. It won't be widespread, but wherever it does, that will be possibly devastating. You can see 13, 14 inches. The NAM likes to go pretty hard on these amounts, which I don't think that it will be that widespread, but I think there could be some localized amounts up to a foot of snow. Let's look at the latest HER model, the HRR model. It's very high resolution. It generally does a very good job about this type of stuff, and even if it's wrong, then it adjusts itself pretty quickly. And you could see that if we were to, let's just wait for this to load, you could see there's a band of very heavy snow. This is the model run that went out several hours ago. It's the one that goes out to 34 hours. And that happens each 6 hours, so I can't just go on the latest one, as that one only goes out to 18 hours. You could see 8, 7, 6 inches of snow widespread across Illinois, so over half a foot. But then again, there's a little hot spot right there across northern Missouri, southern Iowa, where we could see up to a foot of snow, and that is extreme amounts of snow. And that is, whatever time of the year it is, spring, summer, winter, obviously not summer, but spring, winter, fall, that is those are ridiculous amounts. And if we were to look at the Northeast, I'm not sure if this model run encapsulates the snow. Yeah, it doesn't, not fully. But if we were to look at the rain/frozen, you can see that it's definitely occurring across the Northeast. The latest model, the 22Z, puts the snow a little bit further to the north, the heaviest snow. Let's look at total snowfall, and let's bring it through our 18, and let's switch regions to the north central United States. You can see a little bit less across these locations, but that's again because it's been snowing there the whole time, so these amounts have adjusted, as there is already probably 4 to 5 inches of snow on the ground right there. You can see the amounts have nudged a little bit further towards Chicago and Detroit, so definitely not out of the question for Chicago to see 4 to 5 inches. That's probably on the higher side. Lower side, more like maybe 1 to 2 inches. Still, that is probably going to be a record for April 16th into 17th. April 17th will be occurring during the nighttime. That's still probably a record, but I shouldn't have spent this much time on the snow event, but let's look at the pattern which this video is supposed to be about. And let's just talk about it. Again, this pattern won't be really taking place for a while, and it's not really anything that's going to be remarkably different. Probably the biggest factor from this pattern change will be the warm temperatures. They're probably the biggest, I guess, factor on your everyday life. But if you were to look at this, you can see that this storm passes through. We get a cooler draft of air, and we get this big storm right here across the south, which is just pure rain, lots of severe weather. It's another severe weather outbreak for those locations that have been literally ravaged not even a week ago. On Easter Sunday, they were on, so literally a week time of rest, and then another large severe weather outbreak possible. And the pattern changes that we'll be seeing more of these type of storms, more of these type of systems. If you look into the future, we get this little cold air blast right here that comes into the northeastern United States, northeastern 1/3, and then while that passes through, you can notice that we have this pretty strong low system. Though it's not strong in millibars, it has a lot of moisture with it, and there's a lot of warm air. You can see how it just circulates around, and it's more of a characteristic of a summer low, or a summer storm, or a late spring storm, rather than like a winter one. A winter one would be way more well defined with a warm front and a cold front, and it wouldn't be as spiraled in itself. This probably, given the fact that there will be warm temperatures around this storm, this will probably be one of those type of systems where it flares up during the day and it calms down during the night, or there could be mesoscale clusters where it flares up in the evening, and then it's not like it all throughout just rain passes through. It's like a come and go. It's more of a kind of here, there, it's once here, once it's over there, and it could repeat over the same location several times. So that's what could lead to some flooding. And you can see that storm just moves off very slowly. And then we have another storm which is a little bit more classic, characteristic of that big shield up to the north of precipitation, but again, still, it's very it's an interesting storm. You can see maybe a little bit of heavier snow across Michigan with that, and it still kind of spins off. Really takes a while to get through. It goes through Michigan, Indiana, Missouri, Indiana, Illinois, and then it has a second piece right here across Minnesota that passes through, and it takes again a very long time. We have a little bit more of a classic storm to the north, with again very strong millibars, a more tight gradient, and it has a snowy side to it. But again, these storms will be a little bit weird as we're getting towards that warm time of the year, and if you ever to look at a radar time lapse of the summer, they're much different there than a winter. For example, a winter, when you have a storm, it's just one shield and it keeps on marching forward, and there could be some redevelopment. But during summer, it's usually where it's just like a spring, like a bubbling during the day, and then it just disappears during the night. Like, for example, with this storm will probably be like a shield over here and a shield of rain over here, and there will probably be a large disconnect right there, and these two kind of just like swirl around, and by the time they make it out of the coast or off the land, away from the people, it could be quite a while, which could lead to some more more rain for the isolated locations, but it's going to be less widespread. So definitely some interesting times. If we were to look at the 384-hour precipitation outlook, total accumulated precip, the precipitation amounts look pretty significant, especially for the eastern United States and the southern United States. Not for the Southwest, really, but you can see that even into the Midwest, Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Illinois, seeing above average for sure. Not ridiculously, it seems, but it's definitely going to be noticeable, as it's been already a very wet year and has been for the past several years. If you were to look at the European model, the geopotential height and MSLP, you could just tell by the packed isobars in some locations that there will be an increase in storms. You can see there's one right there, that big severe weather maker across the south. There's one to the north. And then we have another storm right there, 999. Next and Friday, the 24th. Then we have another storm to the north, and it seems like there will be an increase of these type of systems, where there will be maybe less widespread, but more concentrated, and possibly have more severe weather with it. As again, we're getting towards the peak of severe weather season. May is the most active month, and right now it's April, so it's kind of like that month of ramping up. And we've already seen a pretty caustic severe weather seasons thus far, so we definitely don't want to see much more in terms of this. Let's look at the windy.com. This is where it shows us the European model. And you can see that in terms of new snowfall accumulations, it shows again that band of snow across the country. Let's say southern Chicago. You could see possibly getting up to 4 or 5 inches. Northern locations, maybe only 1 to 2, maybe even a dusting. But then here's that hot spot across just south of the Quad Cities. You can see 7, 8 inches. Moving on into New York and Massachusetts and Connecticut, where it's over half a foot possibly as well. And then in the next 10 days, you could see not much more falls. Obviously, this is probably the last freak snowstorm that will occur this far south and this widespread. Mountains, maybe northern locations, probably fewer event systems, but this far south and this widespread, probably the last one. Though I'm not excluding it, as last year our last giant system across Chicago was April 28th. We had some snow, and there was like 2 to 3 inches. So let's look at rain accumulation. You can see that the European especially favors parts of the southern United States and eastern, so that's good for them. If they lack water, I'm not sure. I don't have the drought monitor pulled up. I don't know if any locations are in drought. It seems like more of the western locations are in need of water, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem like any giant rain amounts will be occurring. Some, but again, it's nothing too significant. So it's definitely better than nothing, though. As this may seem very light shading, but that's up to an inch right there across the Sierra Nevada, probably in Snowfall. So that is definitely good for them. So that's about it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Consider liking this video, consider subscribing to this channel, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.